UFC 244 Masvidal vs. Diaz took place Saturday, November 2nd at Madison Square Garden in New York City. The UFC returns to the world's most famous arena with a stacked card, headlined by an East Coast-West Coast battle between the number 3 ranked welterweight contender Jorge Masvidal and the number 6 ranked contender Nate Diaz, with the baddest mofo title on the line with serious bragging rights. UFC 244 will mark the 500th live event. Let's talk Diaz versus Masvidal. The number 3 ranked Jorge Masvidal, 34-13, fighting out of Miami, Florida, looks to finish off a spectacular 2019 run with another highlight reel knockout to further stake his claim as a welterweight championship threat. Masvidal, the bare-knuckle backyard brawler, is a true veteran of the sport and one of the most well-rounded fighters on the UFC roster. The American Top Team product brings in a very well-balanced attack and is very powerful and explosive. He has had some ups and downs over the last years, but he has seemed to have found his rhythm in the last 2 fights, disposing of Darren Till by knockout, and who will ever forget the devastating knee he landed on Ben Askren, claiming the fastest knockout in UFC history in 5 seconds of the fight. Masvidal looks to continue the momentum by taking out another bad man in Nate Diaz for the BMF title. The number 6 ranked Nate Diaz, 21-11, fighting out of Stockton, California, looks to assert himself into the welterweight title picture with another show-stealing performance. Diaz, a Stockton product, is one of the most polarizing figures in the sport and brings a true Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, incredible gas tank, slick boxing with a high-pressured attack that has served him well over the years, wearing down his opponents with a now infamous Stockton slap. Diaz in his last 3 fights have beat Conor McGregor, then lost a close decision to Conor, and recently won a 3-round impressive decision over Anthony Pettis, and looking to continue his winning ways. And here's how it went down. The Rock, in typical superstar fashion, made his way to the octagon, carrying the BMF belt, and Bruce Buffer starts the fight with an incredible intro to get the Big Apple crowd fired up. The bell rings and Masvidal comes out looking to throw a flying knee, but Diaz smiles and circles out while taunting him. Early in the first round, Masvidal lands an elbow into a kick combo that put Diaz to the mat, and Masvidal lands some additional strikes. Nate was clearly hurt and Masvidal does some more damage, but Nate manages to recover. He is bloodied up and already the tone was set for the fight. The story of the night was Masvidal controlling the pace of the fight, with his clear power advantage and delivering more significant strikes that hurt Diaz many times. Masvidal throughout the fight was landing wicked body kicks and powerful strikes to the head and body with his explosive attack. Although Diaz did have his moments, it was Masvidal that clearly dominated the fight, and Nate was a bloody mess with a few nasty cuts. The fight spent very little time on the ground, but at the end of the second round, there was a beautiful grappling exchange by both fighters, showing off their high-level skills and reminding everyone they are more than just strikers. At the beginning of the 4th round, the doctor came into the octagon, taking a close look at the cut on Diaz with concern, but Nate, in typical BMF fashion, was telling the doctor he was good to go, trying to keep the fight going to no one's surprise, but the doctor puts an end to the night and stops the fight. Jorge Masvidal defeats Nate Diaz by doctor stoppage to win the BMF belt. The crowd loudly starts chanting bullshit, and both fighters were clearly disappointed. Neither wanted it to end this way, although Masvidal was dominating the action up to this point. Masvidal did say in the post-octagon speech he would be happy to do the fight again with Nate.
I don't want nothing to take my greatness to say some guy tripped on the pebble and that's how I beat him. That's not me. I want to end him. I want to send them off to another dimension. I got nothing but respect for the dude, but that's the type of artwork I like to do. I didn't get it on this one. Are we going to rematch tomorrow, next week? I don't know, but it will happen at some point, you know.
Dana did say in a post-fight interview he went back to Diaz's locker room after the fight, and the cut was really bad, and said the stoppage was probably justified and the right call, with great disappointment on his face, because nobody wanted to see the fight end this way.
Then I walked back and I saw Nate Diaz, and his eyebrow was literally flipped over in front of his eye, and he had another huge gash under his eye. And then I started thinking, you know, it's easy sitting over there in my chair thinking, you know, the fight shouldn't be stopped. And the reason we love Diaz so much is because, you know, he's so tough and durable and everything else. But I don't know, these things happen, and didn't look good. Yeah, it didn't look good.
All right, here's my final thoughts. If there was any question as Masvidal could continue his winning ways in an impressive fashion, that question has been answered. Masvidal has truly come into his own, and and now has had 3 very impressive wins in a row and is growing every single fight with a hunger to compete again, and he has not lost his killer drive. Masvidal fought an ultra-technical fight tonight along with a solid game plan. He showed tonight what an incredible athlete he is, showing off his speed, power that was just too much for Diaz to handle, although Nate does get stronger in championship rounds, and it was an unfortunate stoppage. I would have loved to have seen what would have happened in rounds 4 and 5. Here's some quick stats on Masvidal. He is the number 3 ranked welterweight contender. He has had 15 wins by knockout, 2 by submission. He has had 8 first-round finishes. He now holds wins over Ben Askren, Donald Cerrone, and now a huge win tonight over Nate Diaz for the BMF title. Okay, what's next for Masvidal? Masvidal said he wanted to do the fight again with Diaz, but unfortunately Nate is going to be in recovery from 2 nasty cuts on his eyes that will likely take quite some time to heal. You have a few fighters that match up nicely with Masvidal. With number 1 contender Woodley losing to Usman last, this leaves 2 nice matchups. I would like to see Masvidal fight the winner of Usman Covington. Although they compete out of the same gym, there has been some bad blood between Masvidal and Covington, which makes this matchup even more intriguing, but Covington has to get by the champ first. Masvidal has turned into a highlight reel with his last 3 performances, and although tonight wasn't a brutal knockout, it was a very impressive performance. Masvidal has quickly become a star in the UFC, and after many years has taken advantage of it every time he competes. He grows as a fighter every time he steps into the octagon, and the only fight for him that makes sense is the winner of Colby versus Usman for the title, and I can't wait to see him again. Guys, I just wanted to give a big shout out to all of our loyal fans. We appreciate the support. Please don't forget to hit that like button. This is Jay Catton with MMA Weekly's The Lowdown Breakdown. See you next time.